Hello, ladies. Thanks for joining me today. You'll need for class today just maybe 2 blocks. You may not need them, but it's just kind of nice to have them for our side-to-side gaits. I have a folded blanket underneath of me here, and I've kind of rolled mine a little bit because it gives me a little bit of height, and this is actually a beach towel. It's not a blanket at all. And again, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Mandy, and this is my Mandy Yoga. Today, we're just going to start off with our feet in a bound angle position. And you might want to kind of situate yourself on your mat, and I'm going to change my position right now, so that your ankles are going to be on your mat, physically there, because it kind of can be a little bit of too much pressure of our ankles on a hard surface if you have a hard floor underneath of you. And we'll just start here with some movements while we start to get in touch with our breath. We'll just start some right to left movements. And it will kind of find just this kind of pendulum, kind of teeter-totter kind of movement side to side just to begin. And if you kind of notice that you're getting a little bit more, and I'm going to move these blocks just a little bit to the side so that I'm not resting my knees, because I want to get my knees as low as I like. So whatever feels good here, I encourage. Just kind of starting to get some mobility, some movements here into our hips. And you kind of notice that we're kind of doing this like kind of a tick-tock or a pendulum kind of shape, or from side to side. So the next time you come over to your right side, let's kind of settle in there. Bring your arm down to maybe the floor or forearm to a block, and extend left fingertips just straight up to start. And then when you kind of feel like you're in a good position, start to lengthen it over here from the hips. Instead of trying to just lengthen the arm over, lengthen out from the hips, creating this space. So you're going to kind of scrunch this side of the body while lengthening the opposite side. So it doesn't really matter where this arm ends up. It can just be straight up and down, or it can just kind of be a little bit over to the side to help you create length here as well. We're going to start to make our way up, but we're going to need some support. So use your right hand for support. And let your left arm come down. And let's go back to those movements. So I've kind of wiggled off of my blanket a little bit as I've moved through. So make sure that you're back on your blanket. Find some movements again that feel good. Maybe with your breath a little bit. And the next time you come over to your left side, same thing. So we'll just kind of really lean over towards our left side. Find your forearm to your block or to the floor. Extend right fingertips up. And when you find that you've kind of extended, you feel you're good, now create space. So you're going to kind of lengthen out from the hips, kind of drawing the rib cage away from the hips. And so the arm may not move much, but you're getting a lot of length on this side of the body and kind of scrunching this side. So you're kind of giving your baby some space kind of to move and adjust. Let all of your organs that are feeling kind of compressed right now, kind of give them some space, especially if you're further along. And then we'll use hands for support, and then we'll use our left hand for support to help us up. The right arm comes down around the same time, and then just kind of go back to this kind of side-to-side movement. And then we'll start to kind of find a little bit more of a circular pattern. So you can make this as dramatic as you want, where we kind of come all the way forward and shift all the way back, but that may not be comfortable for you. So you can just kind of go forward from side to side. You can just kind of continue going side to side like we were doing, but just kind of hinging a little bit at your hips to lead with your chest, kind of coming a little forward. And I'm not even on my blanket anymore. I've wiggled off of it so much, I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. But if you need it, if that helps you, adjust it as often as you need. Spend as much time here as you want. Pause the video. Keep doing it if this is to start with what you need today. This isn't going to be a very long video, so we'll just kind of pay attention really to a few really important things as we move along. When you're ready, we'll just find some stillness and relax down. And kind of getting in touch with your breath and this stillness. And with your baby. And kind of notice as we take breath in and out how it's rocking our baby. And we'll slowly start to make our way up, nice and slow. So I'm going to take a moment and get back on my blanket because I came off again. And I want to be really tall and supported. So if this position is no longer comfortable, a little regular seated position is perfect too. But if you're still good here with me, you can even kind of adjust if you want to bring the feet in a little closer just for a little something different. That's an okay option too. We're just going to use the same position to do our twist. So we'll start first with just getting real tall. Lengthen out through the crown of our head. And then it will lead with this kind of center point of our chest. We're just going to lead with our chest to kind of turn, just kind of keeping everything else grounded, but kind of turning into our left side. So belly's strong, draw belly in. So hands then come down for support. So you have support here. Left fingertips can be kind of tented if that helps you to stay up a little taller. And just take a moment to just kind of work into this where it feels good. Draw your belly muscles in, so that just kind of helps to support your low back. And then when you find that good position for you, start to look over your left shoulder. We'll slowly start to make our way forward, but we'll lead with our chest, just like we came over. So our head and neck comes last. The same thing here. So we're just going to take our heart, that center of our chest, we're going to bring it over towards the right, hands for support. Take a moment, draw up from your sits bones, make sure you're still real tall, then look over your right shoulder. And one more breath here. We'll slowly start to make our way forward on our exhale. And once you're all the way forward, so remember head and neck comes around last. And once you're here, and let's find our knees start to come in. Let's lengthen our legs long for just a moment. And just kind of let our hips kind of settle in for a moment. And just be tall. Use our strength into our abdominal muscles. Kind of press out into our feet a little bit. If you need to part your feet a little bit to make a little bit of space for baby, that's okay here too. Maybe close your eyes. Send a sweet message to your baby. Then we'll start to bend one knee at a time. Start to kind of bring them in. And then we'll bring them over to one side. Doesn't matter what side we bring them to. And we'll make our way down to our hands and knees. And we'll let's have our blocks just on either side of us, just in case you need them so that they're nice and reachable. And we'll bring ourselves to hands and knees, but you're gonna need your blanket. I always encourage you to use a blanket just for some extra stability underneath of our extra cushion underneath of our knees. And so I kind of take mine flat and then I support myself under my knees. And then come to a hands and knees position. I'm going to run through the cat-cow movements with you. So I'm just going to start with the gentlest variation just to begin, just to see if you like movement today. We lengthen out through the crown of our head, kind of opening our light in the center of our chest forward. On our exhale, we lower our hips down towards our heels. Head and neck kind of goes neutral on the inhale. We shift back up. So when you're about over your hands, shine the light in the center of your chest forward. And on your exhale, hips down towards heels, chin can start to draw in towards your chest. In the inhale, we make our way back up. Exhale, we make our way back down. And just continue your inhale. Exhale, we lower. Just continue on the inhale, we shift forward, lengthening out. On the exhale, we draw in. So I'm going to come up for just a moment for this next little variation. So it's the same thing, but just a little different. So I don't know where you are in your pregnancy, and sometimes cat-cows need a lot of mobility, a lot of movement, but sometimes they don't. So stick with that one if you really enjoyed it. Try this one if you'd like. We lengthen out through the crown of our head. We open our chest forward. Exhale, we start to draw our chin in towards our chest and our chest towards our hips. Inhale, we start to lengthen out through the crown of our head. We open our heart, lengthen in through the front of our body, and on our exhale, we slowly start to find chest towards hips, chin towards chest. And we just continue, so back and forth, inhales and exhales. So we'll finish this one that we're working on nice and slow. And coming back to our nice neutral, our table position, then bring hips down towards your heels. And if you'd like, you have some options here. So I'm going to encourage you to widen your knees quite a bit and then bring forehead down to your mat. And this is a letting go pose, so let yourself be really heavy here. Let your head be heavy. Let the whole weight of your body be on your mat. You don't need to hold on to it. In this inhale, we slowly make our way back up to our table once more. But let's keep our knees nice and wide. And I'm going to kind of adjust my blanket a little bit because I want you as well to always be thinking about just being good to your knees. And we find so that our knees are kind of towards the outer edge of our mat. And we have our hands, kind of that table position again, wrists under shoulders. Then left hand comes underneath of your face, right fingertips start to reach up towards the ceiling. Then when you're ready on this exhale, we'll start to thread the needle. So we take the right hand and we thread it behind the left hand, bringing it all the way over towards our left side. So your head, neck, and shoulder makes their way down to your mat. We just settle in here, arms and shoulders. Everything starts to get kind of heavy. But then start to get strong into your arms and your shoulders so that you can really allow your head and neck to relax. Maybe closing your eyes. Again, arms and shoulders just strong enough to support our head and neck here. One more breath. And then slowly start to bring weight into your left hand. So press into it, unthread your right hand back to your table once more. Right hand this time comes underneath of your face. Left fingertips this time reach up towards the ceiling. One more breath here. On our exhale, we'll slowly thread the needle. We thread it through. It threads behind our right hand, reaching over towards our right side. Head, neck, shoulder relaxes down. Arms are heavy, shoulders heavy. Strengthen to our hands and arms so that we can just kind of relax in here with our head and neck. Slowly start to get strong into your right hand. Unthread your left hand back to your table once more. Bring your knees back in so that they're back to about hip width apart. I'm going to need you to move. I need this space. Excuse me. I know, we're not playing though. So then from here, we'll start to walk our fingertips forward. Our forehead rests down to our mat. So this one is a really big stretch underneath of our arms. If it becomes too much on your head, feel free to kind of bend your elbows, and it'll take a little bit of the pressure off of your head and neck. You can also bring your fingertips kind of stacking or connected here. That will also take a little bit of pressure off so that you're using your forearms. But otherwise, if you like this kind of lengthening here, kind of lengthening out into underneath of the arms, this is perfect too. Just use a little bit of strength into your hands and arms and shoulders to take a little bit of the pressure off of your head. And we'll slowly start to walk our fingers closer towards us, bending your elbows, forearms for support, then come to hands and knees once more. We'll do one more thing. Let's do a little bit of work onto our hips. So let's take our knees back wide, and this time they can be a little bit wider, and we'll just start to find, so we're going to kind of shift in with our hips, with our pelvis really, into a circular pattern with our hips. So we just kind of make these big hip circles. And if maybe this full circular pattern isn't good, you can always do just like a C shape, where we just do one side at a time, where you kind of go a couple of rounds over towards one side and then a couple of rounds to the other side. And you just kind of determine kind of how you want to do them. If you're still doing that circular pattern, let's go into the opposite direction. It's really the same thing, just switching sides as far as the directional pattern you're going. And I encourage you, and I always have this kind of need to kind of shift and kind of pause for a moment when something feels really good. So feel free to do that at any time. Don't always wait for my cues if that feels good. So sometimes I'll even kind of sit back and just kind of shift from side to side, kind of really opens the hips and the low back muscles, and just kind of find what feels good. As long as it feels good, we don't want to work towards pain, but a little bit of discomfort is usually perfect. And then we'll just find some stillness. Let's bring our knees back together. We'll do one more little puppy like we did before, where we have our knees and our hips stacked and we walk our fingertips forward and our forehead rests down. And slowly make our way back up, nice and slow. Use your blanket for this one. So we'll need to come up, and maybe let's kind of shift our blanket so that we can fold it in half and then fold it in half again. So I'm going to give you lots of options for this next pose. We're going to do pigeon together. So as we do pigeon, I'll make sure to add different things that we can add to our pose. And just to begin, let's have our blanket up towards the top of our mat. And we can have our blocks handy, but I really don't think you'll need blocks, but just in case, have them over on one side. And then from here, we'll just start first with our right knee. Start to shift your right knee forward. Your ankle starts to shift over towards your left side. Curl your back toes under, and then start to shift your back knee back. So this might be pretty intense, and it truly was when I first started doing it. So it's kind of finding that good position. So take a moment, kind of wiggle around if you need to kind of find a good position here. And when you do, take that blanket, and I kind of like this little curved part, tuck it right underneath of your right hip. And if this pose is kind of new for you, this support is going to be really helpful. And then from here, so you have this space here to the right side. This is kind of where we usually kind of fold forward into our pigeon, but when we're pregnant, we try to shift a little bit over towards the left side. So feel free to kind of shift over here to this side. So I want to remind you though, that we're not just limited to extending and lengthening perfectly forward. We also have the option to kind of shift a little bit over. So this kind of helps to get more into those deep muscles surrounding not just the hips, but into the butt where it connects into the top of the thigh, or piriformis muscle. And that one is the kind of one that I'm kind of working on with you here today, where we can kind of shift a little bit further over towards the left side. And this blanket might actually be in the way for you here. You might want to remove it and then kind of rock side to side with it. And just kind of see how you feel here. So this might be something that's not really needed for you in your practice, and that's okay. If that's where you are, keep that blanket tucked and just kind of hang out right here. This might be just perfect for you. This might be where you feel that deep stretch in that spot, but we're all kind of different, and you have this space from like 12 o'clock to about 9. So kind of thinking about this whole space that you can kind of shift yourself to. So probably not so much going to the right side, but you could kind of hold baby here and kind of tilt your hips a little bit towards the left and lengthen here and kind of direction your head and neck over towards the right side. And that's going to create a little bit more length all the way here. So we just find just what feels good. And you kind of know. So wherever you are, and sometimes we just want to hang out and be still and just completely relax. So we get a block and we just rest. But me, I need movement. So, and especially during my pregnancies, I've always needed movement. So just kind of shifting gently side to side is always helpful here too. But stillness is always good. So you find what works for you. We're going to have one more breath here, so kind of finishing up what you're working on. And then we're slowly going to make our way out of our pose. So use your hands for support, hands first, and then curl your back toes under to shift your back knee forward. Then start to shift your right knee back. And we'll find a little child's pose. A puppy works too, but child's pose is perfect, just parting your knees just to that space where you feel good and just slowly lowering down. And keeping this length all the way out through the crown of our head. Allowing your body to be heavy. And this inhale, your table. And if you wanted to use that blanket on the opposite side, let's have it over to the left. Make sure you have a block up here towards the top of your mat. Left knee, when you're ready, shifts forward behind your left hand. Ankle shifts over towards the right. Curl your back toes under to shift your back knee back. Find that space that you feel good, shoulders down, away from ears. Kind of maybe move a little bit to make sure that this feels like a good place for you. You feel nice and supported. And then you choose if you want to tuck this blanket underneath of your hips and kind of fold maybe straight forward. If you're a little further along, a little bit more over to your left side. Your right side. And just kind of finding what feels good here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of go with all the things that I said earlier. So you can kind of shift all the way over towards the right as much as you'd like. I'm kind of going as far as 3 o'clock over here. And you can also kind of shift all the way forward and then kind of lengthen out kind of through the crown of your head, where you're kind of creating this length in the right side of the body. and it's going to lengthen into these spaces here for you. So you kind of decide where you're going to be here and what feels good. And just make sure that you don't feel like baby is kind of compressed. We want to make sure that we have plenty of space because we have all of this space for our baby. So we can use this space for our baby so that we can feel we're getting this good benefit from our pose. Again, little subtle movements are good here too, kind of working out those places. This is really good for any kind of sciatic trouble that we might be feeling. We have about 2 more breaths here on this side. And so if you have something that you wanted to finish up, here's your chance. And we'll slowly start to bring our hands back to our table hands. We'll curl our right toes under and start to shift our right knee forward. Left knee shifts back. And maybe, since we're going to be here for a minute, let's take a moment and make our blanket so that we have some support underneath of our knees. And then bring our knees down to our table. And then maybe, if you feel so inclined, you can take and widen your knees as much as you choose, and then bring your toes kind of closer together as you lower your hips down towards your heels and relax down to your forehead. And really allowing your body to be heavy here. Completely relaxed. And slowly we'll start to make our way back up, nice and slow. We'll shift our knees back in. And we'll come down onto our sits bones. You can kind of sit right behind your blanket so you don't have to move it. And then we bring our feet flat to our mat and our hands just behind us. And I have my fingertips facing inward so I have some support here. And just shoulders down away from ears. And we'll just take our knees from side to side. So it's a little bit of a twist, but it's more of a motion in our hips here. And we just go side to side. So there's a couple of ways to do this, and I'm going to show you another way as well, where we take the little toe side of our feet to the outside edge of our mat, and then one knee at a time comes in. We just find what feels good here. And if you're kind of moving like I am, I'm like on my blanket now. It's okay. Just keep moving. You're okay. It won't hurt. And we'll just start to find some stillness. So when you're kind of finished with that round, let's make our way back up to our seated position. And I'm going to turn to face you, but you're fine whatever direction you're facing. And just take a second if you want to take your blanket underneath of your sits bones and just kind of come back to about where we began today. And just kind of notice here how you feel just after just a little short, little 30-minute practice with me. Just how your body feels and this connection to your body. We'll find just before we end our class completely, let's bring the soles of our feet together again. We won't be here for very long. And let's hinge at our hips and lead with our chest one more time. Just a little forward fold to kind of finish our practice. We'll slowly unhinge to make our way up. So we're kind of ending where we began, which kind of gives us a little bit more sense of what we've accomplished, what we did in just that short period of time. And so honoring that, honoring this change that you've created in your body. And take full responsibility because you did this. You brought yourself here. You unrolled your mat. That's sometimes the hardest part. It's not the yoga practice itself. It's making time for ourselves. So thank yourself. Thank your body for the work that it's doing, making this beautiful baby. But don't forget to thank you for nourishing your body. And we'll bring our hands to our bellies and send your babies love and acceptance that we will accept you just as you are whenever you're ready. You will be an amazing mother to this baby because you already are. And your baby is lucky to have you. So thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. Thank you. And if you still need a little bit of a final relaxation, check out my other videos. There's two different variations of final relaxation. One is on our side and another is a reclined variation. And don't forget, if you quite enjoyed this video, to like this video for me. And it lets me know what videos are enjoyed the most so that I can make more like them. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And thank you again for joining me today. I always enjoy it. My name is Mandy, and this is My Mandy Yoga. Thank you.